Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, special edition of the Terrible Podcast. I am Alex Kozora. Alongside me is Dave Bryan, as always, for this Friday, July 30th version of the Terrible Podcast. I suspect by the time you're listening to this, it'll be Saturday at this point. But Steelers wrapping up their, I guess you can call it, Friday Night Lights practice of 2021. Obviously not at Latrobe. Really wasn't under the lights. It was still pretty light whenever practice ended today at 5 p.m. Kickoff ended around 7:15-ish, I believe. But Dave, team back in pads and had a Friday Night Lights feel in terms of full contact, backs on backers, which happens twice in 3 days now. So that's pretty unique in itself, and a good practice overall.
Yeah, I think Friday dusk practice, huh?
Roll off the tongue quite as well.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. But sounds like it was a pretty eventful evening. So no chit chat. We chit chatted enough earlier today. So let's get after it.
Yeah, again, let's thank our sponsors, Touring Plans, yearly sponsor of our Steelers Depot training camp coverage. Shout out to Len Testa for being a good friend, and Touring Plans for being our sponsor. If you're planning a trip to Disney, those are the people you want to work with. So check out their website. That is touringplans.com. All right, Dave, let's get to the injury report. I know Tomlin talked about one mid-practice injury today. That was Cassius Marsh limping off the field. Hopefully that's not too serious. I think he's had overall a pretty good start to training camp, so hopefully that doesn't cause him to miss any or much time at all. In terms of players who were not practicing in any sort of capacity today, that is wide receiver Cody White. He's starting his rehab from that hamstring injury. J.C. Hassenauer, Zach Banner, Jalen Samuels, Eric Ebron, Kevin Dotson, Cam Hayward, and Ben Roethlisberger. Hayward and Ben getting rest. A lot of other guys not in team are doing very little. That included the likes of T.J. Watt, Stephon Tuitt, Chuck Wilmore-Corfor, etc. I do want to have one note on Banner, and I don't want to sound the alarm too much here, but every day that I've been there, it's only been a couple, granted, but Banner's been at least in his jersey and done a little bit of stuff early on. Today, he was in a hoodie and sweatpants and a backpack and didn't do anything. Obviously, wasn't dressed at all. He was in street clothes. And so I'm a little worried about that because he should at least not be going backwards in terms of his attire and availability and what he's doing in practice. So I know Tomlin said there were no setbacks or anything like that, but it didn't look great. Didn't sit right with me. Maybe I'm being a little too paranoid, tinfoil hat on, too tight here. But Banner being in street clothes was a little off to me.
All right, we'll see where that goes from there. And yeah, and look, here we are. And they're technically, I guess, a week or 8 days or 9, however many days technically into this thing now. That list is starting to grow like it always does, right? Mm-hmm. This time of year, I think for the most part, though, it doesn't seem. One piece of housekeeping first. Yeah. Dax Raymond was waived injured with whatever got him off the field late in the Thursday practice there, so you don't want to call it a casualty, I guess, but sort of is. I mean, you're going to have a couple of guys, obviously every year this time of year, a couple of them get waived injured and not be able to stay healthy. And that tight end, maybe he could have stuck around if that tight end room was fully healthy. But you have Eric Ebron dealing with that elbow, whatever he's got going on with that elbow right now, and they had to waive Dax Raymond as injured. They signed tight end Marcus Baugh, who's been around for a little bit, was with the Washington football team last year. I think he was on the roster for 8 games and 70, I think, snaps, 80 snaps, something like that, but only had 1 catch for 2 yards there. So they had him in a jersey Friday night right away there. So there is that. But once again, we'll see what happens with Banner moving forward. And this is the time of year, unfortunately, like I said, where that list seems to grow. But fortunately, it doesn't seem like anything overly serious. I think just from the video that I saw and from the pictures that Tim Rice posted, it looks like JC, and you've been saying it for a couple of days now, JC Hassenauer getting closer. Boy, it really looked tonight in some of the video and pictures and all that I saw that he's really close. So maybe after that off day on Sunday, when they get back to work, maybe he'll be back to work.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Him and Kevin Dotson did do some stuff on the side, just one-on-one when the O-line was going through their individual work, and Ball was in team right away. So welcome to Steelers training camp. You're getting thrown in there. Actually had a really nice catch for a touchdown. So kudos to him. Some other quick notes as well. Joe Hayden in pads, but not in team. Juju went through individual. I don't think he got a single rep in team. Hopefully that's rest or just some really minor thing. Returning to practice in team today was Anthony Coyle with that stinger. Devin Bush back after a presumed kind of rest load management type of day yesterday. Melvin Ingram back in team as well. And Jerry O has a wrap on his left knee. If you care about coaches' injuries, hopefully that left knee's okay for inside linebackers coach Jerry Olszewski, but that's me nerding out. So that should take care of basically all the housekeeping.
All right. Hopefully the housekeeping segment gets a little bit shorter moving forward.
Plus, poor Dax Raymond. He gets hurt early in camp. Twice now.
Yeah, twice, 2 years in a row. Wade injured last year, and then within, I think, about a week's time, he was an injury settlement guy. So
and that was early in camp last year, right? It was a couple days in, just like this year. So feel for the guy. That really sucks.
That might be it for him.
Yeah, not looking too good. All right, Dave, what do you want to go for me? You want to start with quarterbacks?
Yeah, and it sounded like initially the quarterbacks got off to a fairly decent start there in 7 shots. I think Rudolph connected. I think who was it? Chase Claypool or something on a corner fade, and then I think that was Mason. At least from what I interpret from the Twitter machine and everything else, that might have been the Mason Rudolph highlight for the night.
Yeah, if today's practice would have stopped after one play, it would have been a great one for Mason Rudolph. And they throw those fades. So that's like the third or fourth time that they've thrown that red zone fade to Claypool with Sutton covering. And they've had some good battles. I think Claypool's caught the last 2. Sutton's had a couple of breakups. So those guys might be like the best one-on-one battle in camp, just a red zone fade, Chase Claypool versus Cam Sutton. But yeah, the second play after that, tried a red zone fade to Deontay Johnson, kind of underthrown. James Pierre tracked it, picked it, and ran it the other way. And so Rudolph finished the day with 2 interceptions, one by Minka, one by James Pierre, and Robert Spillane threw it right at him. Should have been a third. Spillane just dropped it. I think he was surprised by the ball being thrown right into his hands, essentially. And so pretty rough day there for Mason Rudolph.
Mason explained the one to Minka. Evidently, that was some sort of a wheel route, I'm guessing, or out and up to kind of route there. And Mason admitted that he kind of forced that football and probably should have checked it down to Deontay over in the flat there. I am recreating a play off of words. I did not see it. Maybe you can walk us through it. And then obviously the one, one man's misfortune is another guy's
fortune.
Fortune. Yeah. There you go. Not. I don't think you'll find that on a bumper sticker anytime soon. But James Pierre making plays. And Mason said that he should have put that ball further back on the back pylon and gave his guy a chance to make the play. Can you walk us through what maybe caused the underthrow, if anything, and what you saw on the other interception?
I don't think anything caused it. I don't believe there was pressure or anything. I think he just threw kind of a floater. And yeah, it's got to be one of those your guy or no guy type of balls where either your guy's going to catch it or it's going to go out of the end zone incomplete. And he just put a little too much air underneath it, and Pierre made him pay. The other one, I felt like it was a comeback, but obviously, I'm going to trust Rudolph here, so I don't maybe have the route combination wrong. I just know it was thrown to left side, and Minka stepped in front of it and picked it off, and too easy for him. And Minka barely practiced in team today. I think it might be like his only couple snaps he had, and he still comes away with an interception. That's just the playmaker that Minka is. But it was just there was one to Claypool that was broken up by Sutton, not picked, but broken up. It was just a late throw from Rudolph on a comeback or curl route to the left side, and Sutton had an easy play to break that one up. Just kind of sat there and knocked it away. So just everything seemed to be a bit off. I don't want to kill the guy. I know that that's kind of easy to do, and Twitter seems to love it whenever you say anything negative about Mason Rudolph. But today was, I think, objectively not a good day for him.
All right, on a scale of 1 to 10 for Rudolph today, how would you rank it?
What's the bad one and what's the good one?
One is bad. Well, I guess you could go negative, go into negative there, but one is an awful day. 10, put him in the Pro Bowl.
Today was like 2.5.
Ooh, okay. Seemed like Haskins had another stringing together. I guess two decent practices in a row there. What did you like about Dwayne Haskins today?
Yeah, what I like about him just today, just overall, is he has this good middle ground he's showing where he's going to be aggressive and take shots. Rudolph's more check down, take a profit kind of guy, and Dobbs will be aggressive and take shots. And sometimes it works, but he'll get himself into trouble with some risky throws. Those existed today as well. Haskins is finding that middle ground, that fine line of knowing when to take shots and be aggressive and throw into single coverage without forcing those throws downfield. And so I think he's got that good middle ground there. So it just kind of seems to be that happy medium that Haskins is able to strike. And so I think that's continued to be on display almost every single day that I've watched him so far. Probably every single day so far.
Give us a 1 to 10 score on Haskins for today.
Yeah, 6, 7. I mean, it was a good practice. I think yesterday was better overall, but today was just fine. He's the only quarterback that hasn't thrown a pick so far that we know of, at least. I mean, Ben threw 1 to Brooks, and Rudolph had 2 today, and Dobbs got picked off today once. And so unless Haskins had an interception the first couple of days when we weren't there, he's been clean, though, in the 3 days that we watched him.
All right, another you want to go to running backs now and another backs on backers section, right?
Yeah, just a quick note on Dobbs. Again, he's aggressive. He'll make some good throws. He's made some plays. Obviously, he uses his legs well, but just sometimes he'll try to fit some balls where they don't belong, where he's going to get picked and nearly picked and that kind of stuff. So he's trying to make plays because the reps are not really there for him. So he's trying to be more than just a check down guy for his couple of snaps, but can get him into trouble. With running backs, backs on backers, Najee Harris, he went 3 for 3 to start, faced Spillane and Marcus Allen. Then he got to graduate to Alex Highsmith, and Highsmith beat him twice back-to-back. And then Jamir Jones put him on his butt late in backs on backers and knocked him down to the ground. They went again. Harris won. I think Jones tried to spin move, and Harris was able to mirror and match it and catch it. But, Harris taking his lumps, but that's fine. I mean, that is life as a rookie. It's not all going to be smooth sailing, so it's good for him to, have some ups, have some downs.
Mike Tomlin once again praised him after practice. Basically, in so many words, he's got the want to and all. And he talked about the technical aspect will get better and all like that on him. So look, I mean, we talked about this the other day. He is as advertised in that area. I'm from what I saw on his college tape, he's going to be fine in pass pro. The big thing obviously is knowing who to block,
mm-hmm.
And then just making sure you get a body on the guy there, and he's a big enough dude where he should be able to handle his own. So. Certain people will probably tally these up as wins and losses and all like that. I just think that the team or Tomlin overall is just happy with his fortitude and his willingness and how he battles out there. And I think he said as much today.
I think that's good perspective, an important perspective this time of year, because even I can get a little too hyper-focused on wins and losses and just, is he competing? Is he hanging in there? And he certainly is. Ballage looked good again. I think.
Well, it's one of the few things that you can kind of really score,
You're right. Yeah.
And anytime you can keep score on some of this stuff, I think that's where it becomes the popular aspect is it's easy to draw wins and losses off some of these things. And look, I think there probably are subtle takeaways that you can take away that, oh man, this, not eating up the grass or, those kind of things. But I think overall, even in some of these losses, at least, and I haven't seen a single rep, I'm going off of what you were telling me and what Twitter's telling me though. It seems like he's out there battling and holding his own for the most part, and he is going to have a couple of losses along the way.
Right. And when he loses to Highsmith, he's going to lose that battle because it's a pass rusher against, he's not going to face that guy really ever. And if he does, something probably went wrong. So, I mean, again, it's a loss. I mean, you want to note it. But he did win the first 3. So that's him, they're going to get tougher. If he's winning, they're going to give him tougher matchups to see if he's up to that challenge. So I think it's all good. It's all good news there with Najee Harris.
Here's the quote. I just like the competitive spirit of 22 again, Tomlin said. And he lost some today because he was going against bigger men. We pit backs on inside linebackers, that outside linebacker almost somewhat a DN like, and then some. So some of those matchups get a little bit challenging. We put Alex Highsmith on him today, and he just has an appetite for the competition. He has a long way to go from a growth standpoint in terms of technique, techniques and stuff, but I like his appetite for the competition there. So appetite used a couple of times in competition and competitive spirit. That's a word soup. That's a word soup of the day from Tomlin when it comes to Najee.
One guy whose appetite not nearly as good, Anthony Mcfarland. Now, he's not going to excel in these moments, but back-to-back holding calls. The refs were on hand today. He got flagged twice and did not do well overall. But, yeah, Ballage looked good. Derek Watt had a fine rep or two, but from a back standpoint, I think Kalen Ballage has been the best guy in backs-on-backers from an offensive perspective.
Mcfarland had a couple of scampers, I think, according to the Twitter machine.
Yeah, he had the big run of the day, 40 yards, kind of got in the second level, and Mark Gilbert had a bad angle, came too far inside, let Mcfarland bounce it to the outside for a big, I think I had it 40 yards down the left sideline before getting knocked out of bounds at the 15. So it was a bit aided by Gilbert, I think, playing that poorly, but Mcfarland showed that open field ability that got him drafted.
Anything else stick out about the running backs as a whole? I take it Kalen Ballage and who's the Bundage aren't going to be exchanging Christmas cards anytime soon in July, Christmas in July cards?
Yeah, I think Ballage was just getting heated because he was getting just beat up really strong in one session. The last play, Bundage nailed him pretty good, and those guys exchanged words, and I think some helmets came off, and he just kind of got in a scrum, got broken up. No punches, though, so not that I'm aware of. So
that's the second time those two have mixed it up, huh?
On Wednesday, right? They went at it? Was that them? Yeah.
Bundage tell him to put on the glasses or something?
Bundage can hit. He's a small guy, but he packs a wallop. So I'm excited to watch Calvin Bundage in the preseason.
You've seen They Live, haven't you?
Seen what? They Live?
Yeah, the Roddy Piper movie.
I have no idea who that is.
The fight scene is fantastic, man. You got to watch that movie. It's kind of it's a B movie, but man, it's the all-time best fight scene in that. So anyway, carry on. Anything else on running backs?
If you're playing Steelers Depot Bingo, you can check off. You got to watch that, Alex. And no, I will not.
You got to watch that, Alex.
No, that's about it for running backs. Contact session today, more to learn about, but those were the three guys, Harris, McFarland, and Ballage.
All right, tight ends. Did we learn anything today?
Kevin Rader, I want to know his secret. He can catch now. He had the terrible hands in 2019, had 5 drops, tied for the team lead according to our charting, had a drop last year in his week 17 game against the Browns. He's catching everything, and they're tough catches too. He's had 1 in double coverage from Dobbs at the end of 7 shots, and they ran a shovel option to him. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back.
Called that one.
I cheated. They did it in warm-ups, and so anything they do early in warm-ups, you can bet they're going to do in 7 shots. So that's how I can kind of guess it. But he had a really strong catch on a corner out against UG3. A diving grab came down with it. So this guy's hands were to me his biggest issue because he could block, he could cover. He's not a good athlete, but he can make some tough catches. And these tight ends across the board, Ebron aside, are catching everything, Fryermuth and Gentry. So you got a competitive tight end group that's making some really combat contested catches.
But wasn't Rader the one that in that college championship game made that unbelievable behind the player catch or something like that? Wasn't
I think
that him?
So. Yeah, but then in 2019, he was dropping everything. So
right.
I mean, he's catching it now at least, so that's good. I mean, and so that's not going to be his calling card. Obviously, that's not this team's going to really ask him to do. But he's making some really tough plays.
Boy, that's going to make him an even tougher out for Zach Gentry. You know.
Yeah, but Gentry looks good too as a receiver. He's catching everything as well. The blocking probably.
Well, I mean, like we said, that shouldn't be the issue with him overall. My biggest concern with him was special teams play and his blocking ability, which I guess they moved that drill because the tight ends got short. Mike Tomlin was asked. I think we were supposed to see some some defensive end, outside linebacker on tight end blocking sessions, and that did not go down tonight because of the shorter line. So it sounds like that's gotten moved off a day or two.
Okay, that's a run blocking session, is Tomlin referring to?
That's okay, what Tomlin evidently was alluding to. Remember us kind of talking about what might be coming? Well, that's the what might be coming, and I guess it was originally planned for tonight, for tonight. And Tomlin was asked about it. He says, "Well, Raymond went down, and you had the new guy in there, and Ebron's out, so the tight end line's already short already. So I would suspect maybe after the day off or whatnot, if they get Ebron back, then we'll see that drill, and what an important one that one will be."
You can bet Ebron's like, Coach, you can run it today. That's okay if I'm
Yeah,
not. I don't want to block.
yeah.
Raymond's fine. Raymond's he can't walk, but he's okay.
Yeah, magically, Ebron a few days ago talked about, I'm accepting the challenge. That's a block, and then. Yeah. Look, I'm not taking a shot at the guy. Look, he is what he is anyway. I don't care if he gives it 100% effort. He's not going to turn into George Kittle or anywhere close to that. But it will be interesting to see that drill just for Freiermuth alone and Rader and Gentry.
And if you are still playing Steelers Depot Bingo, George Kittle is now off the board.
Yeah. Boy, people are going for the bingo tonight, aren't they?
Yeah, got some prizes. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for tight end. Freiermuth getting a lot of reps. Dog getting a lot of reps because, the lines are shorter, so a lot of valuable playing time opportunity for guys like Rader, Gentry, and Freiermuth. I think they're all doing pretty well.
All right, wide receiver, you've already mentioned. I mean, is there much to talk about the top five? How's Ray Ray? Is Ray Ray holding on to the ball?
Yeah, he is. I don't think he caught a pass today. They ran like I think a shovel play or a jet play or something, and he got tossed by Jamir Jones, kind of got blown up. But worked first team slot with Juju out. So if Juju did go down, obviously they'll mix and match guys. But he was first team slot today. And
I believe you said either earlier today or I'm starting to get these already mixed up and all. But you're not seeing Juju move around too terribly much, right? In 11 personnel, three wide receivers.
Yeah, I haven't paid special attention to it, but it looks about the same to me. And so Juju's primarily been in the slot.
All right, Rico made another play tonight.
Yeah, he did. I think if you had challenged it might not have been a touchdown. That second foot may have just touched out of bounds, but a big catch against Denmark. And Isaiah McCoy, 2 touchdowns as well.
Wow.
I haven't talked about McCoy, your guy, too much. I mean, they weren't. One was a sliding grab. One was open middle of the field against Justin Lane. But nice to at least have some news on a guy we've talked about a bit before camp with Isaiah McCoy.
Yeah, I think that's really kind of the first little bit, talk about it. Look, just glad to see those guys, because they're going to obviously keep probably at least 2 maybe on the practice squad, especially if they have a 16-man practice squad once again. So I think we're starting to see at least a little separation there, right? Between, well, here's the other thing. The Georgia kid, help me out.
Tyler Simmons.
Yeah, Tomlin. He got some attaboy from Tomlin, especially when it comes to special teams aspect about Gunner and Vice and all like that. So we know how important that special teams aspect is to these bottom of the end wide receivers there. So he definitely Tyler Simmons got an attaboy from Mike Tomlin tonight.
Yeah, I have that in my notes. It was him and Anthony Johnson as jammers, and they stuffed Denmark. And someone was getting hyped. I guess Tomlin was there. Because I know he was watching the left gunners on that play on that session. And so that was a good rep there by Simmons and Johnson. Simmons is a thickly built guy, kind of that running back receiver hybrid.
He's got a Heinz Ward build to him, doesn't he? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to use that name because obviously Simmons isn't Ward, but I get your point. I mean, he's a thicker built receiver, running back kind of guy.
All right, a James Washington build, a Marcus Wheaton build. How about that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and by the way, Anthony Johnson getting some work in the slot is kind of a big slot kind of guy for whatever that's worth.
He's a big dude too, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, he is. And so Juju being out creates more opportunities for guys like Johnson and obviously Ray is a first teamer.
All right, and Cody White missing that valuable time, man.
He's starting the walk around the track is kind of the first sign of rehab with John Norberg watching it. He did that today, but he's probably still a week or so away at least. And so that's valuable time missed.
And the little guy, Matthew Sexton, still making a play or two?
Yeah, he's been kind of quiet. Obviously, I want to see him on teams. I think that's going to be his path. Running on kicks and punts, I think could be really interesting for him, and he'll probably get some punt return or kick return work as well.
All right, James, anything to report on James Washington?
Not a whole lot. It's been a pretty quiet camp. Not that he's been bad or anything. I'm trying to see if did he catch a pass today? I don't think he did. So it's been pretty quiet here from James Washington so far.
All right, did we hit on offensive line?
No, we haven't. But a couple notes there. Kendrick Green out in space today on a screen. Walled off Marcus Allen for a nice, successful screen play to Benny Snell left side. So just seeing some of that movement ability, athleticism. I know what Tyson Alualu talked about Green and said he feels like he's in a good place referring to Kendrick Green.
Yeah, absolutely. And he even talked about that athleticism and him being able to get out on the edge and working out second level was some
Right.
of the
So
praise that Alu. And then he was asked in his post presser after that, wanting the Marquise wanting to try to compare him to Marquise Pouncey, and Tyson Alu wouldn't touch that.
yeah, that's a loaded question. Just let Kendrick Green let him play a game in the NFL first, and then we'll start talking about comparisons to Marquise Pouncey. But you can definitely see. I mean, Green's a good athlete. That was never a question with him, and so he's gonna be able to move in space.
How's Trey Turner look? He look over that groin?
He looks fine. I mean, I really haven't seen him too much one-on-one and O-line, D-line. I didn't watch O-line, D-line today because I was watching backs on backers. There was another dust-up between apparently Anthony Coyle and Carlos Davis. I don't know the story there, but I just saw Davis on his back at the bottom of a big pile. So Coyle going after it. But yeah, Turner has been – I don't have a whole lot to report, good or bad. He's been fine. I guess if I don't have a lot bad to report, then that's probably a decent sign for him.
All right, let's go over to the other side of the ball, I guess. You had a note about John LeGlue, right?
Yep. I do want to mention that he got work at center today. BJ Finney got like half a day. I think he's fine because LeGlue was taking center snaps pre-practice. So I think they planned LeGlue to play some center. So he's played guard and tackle and center now. So some extra versatility with him.
I do pretty good on retention on all this stuff that comes across the machine for not watching a lick of practice, don't I?
I wish you can go out to a practice sometime. Someday. Make it out to
one day.
Training camp one day. But LeGlue getting some work at center.
I can't believe I remembered that and the Tyler Simmons to ask you about that. Okay, the other side of the football, defense.
Yeah, defensive line, I thought active days for Carlos Davis and Isaiah Buggs. I thought both, again, it is tough to judge those trench guys, watching it live. But I thought had some pressures, had some run stops. Those guys were in my notes quite a bit today, it felt like.
Let's see. Loudermilk. Tyson Alu was asked about Loudermilk, and he did kind of say, once again, I think Butler even said this weeks ago, a young Cam Hayward there, hold on, easy now. But, anything sticking out at all with him, that push-pull or anything, or able to see any of that with Loudermilk?
Yeah, I saw that the other day. I guess it would have been Wednesday in an O-line, D-line drill. A little bit of quickness and firing off the ball, but just I haven't gotten enough of a feel for his athleticism. I mean, I get the Hayward comparison in the sense of similar size and school and pedigree and kind of playing in a pro system and
they sort
solid
of look
run
like
defense.
each other. The rookie pictures and all. I mean, they do.
So he's in there. He's running second team. No Hayward today. Hayward getting the day off. Some more reps for those young guys. So he's looked fine. Loudermilk has.
Talk about Henry Mondo. We haven't talked about him in a little while.
Yeah, he's been second team right at the end. Obviously, they'll mix and match nickel guys and rotate in. Don't have a lot to report in team, but again, just his unique value is going to be that special teams value that no one else in that room is going to have. And so, again, I don't want to make any declarations or proclamations about this room because I think it's going to be truly a wire-to-wire battle where all those guys are going to have to play well from the start to the end because I think it is so competitive and it is so close.
Tell me who – I was thinking about this tonight. Another reason to go Steelers minus 1.5 against the Cowboys. Tell me who their starting defensive line is going to be against the Cowboys, and that unit should have some snaps underneath its belt as well too, right?
Yeah, my guess would be Loudermilk at lefty end.
Really? Buggs. Start, you think?
Yeah, well, they're not going to play Hayward.
I mean, right. But I mean, wouldn't you think maybe Wormley and?
I think Wormley might sit, and if he does,
really? Okay.
He is right defensive end, I think, right?
Okay. All right. Well, okay. I thought you were going to go along the lines of maybe some Mondo and Wormley and maybe Carlos Davis or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. I think I have one note on a D-line pairing today was Mondo, Davis, Wormley, just that. What's my athlete? I always get the left-right side mixed up with Loudermilk and Davis, or Loudermilk and Mondo. But I think it'll be Loudermilk, Mondo, and either Davis or Buggs. I'm going to go Buggs as the nose tackle.
To start, huh?
To start, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I take it back. Yeah, I think Wormley does need to play a little bit, quite honestly. At the start of that thing, I think he does.
How much are you going to play?
In my head, I was envisioning Wormley, either Davis or Buggs and maybe Mondo or something along those lines. That's where I was heading with this, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to play, regardless of how they start. I mean, those young guys are going to play a ton of snaps here, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, Wormley a lock. I mean, you would think because he just a contract that he signed alone that he would be, and he did come on late last season and all like that. But I mean, is you know enough about him where you're not going to play him a series or two against Dallas?
I mean, you could, and it'd be fine. But I think I want to give those young guys as many reps as possible.
Okay.
Actually, Wormley has been left defensive end, so it's either going to be like Wormley, Bugs, Mondo, or Loudermilk, Bugs, Mondo, maybe Davis in nose tackle, but I think you'll have Loudermilk and Mondo at ends playing the majority of snaps, even if they don't actually start.
See, I pay attention. All right. Let's see. Outside linebacker. Obviously Watt and did Alex Highsmith skip? Did he jump right over the second year jump and go straight to grown ass man?
Is that the progression?
Yeah, I think isn't that the way it goes? It goes rookie, second year jump, grown ass man, ain't it? Isn't that the progression?
That's the TJ Watt jump. I don't know if Highsmith is there.
No kidding. But I mean, it sounds like it. You tell me.
I mean, he's looked good for sure. He's had a good camp. I think he's really, trying to state that case that he should be the starting right outside linebacker opposite of TJ Watt. But I want to see him beat someone who's not a rookie, because every time he has a big rep, he's beating. Today he beat Najee Harris and he beat Dan Moore. And again, that's all well and good, and there were good reps and all that, but they are still rookies. So I want them to get a core four in there. I want to see some core four versus Alex Highsmith or something, man. Just haven't had a core four really available. So Highsmith's been good for sure, but the context is at least when I've noticed it, he's been beating rookies.
All right, maybe the guy that I have circled the most here for us for us to talk about here is Jamir Jones, the young player out of Notre Dame. Is that a guy that we have not talked about enough throughout the entire offseason?
I think so. I know we've talked about him a little bit the last couple of days, but a really strong. I thought he was one of the stars in backs on backers. Twice he put his guy on the ground. Once it was Derek Watt, and the second time was Najee Harris, and they fell to the ground. And those are big dudes that are tough to move and have some strength and some power. And so Jamir Jones showing some of that power. He's not a particularly big guy either, I don't think, but he has some power and had a tackle on McLeod at the line and in team today. So I think Jamir Jones has been one of those kind of pleasant surprises at camp, the guy that you wouldn't have guessed that he would be the guy we're talking about today, but I think he's had a nice start.
Yeah, you come out of a program like Notre Dame, obviously had the interesting backstory with the dad with the COVID that kind of interrupted the pro days for him, and he had a lot of circumstances that he had to overcome there, and it makes you kind of wonder if he would have been able to without COVID and go through a clean process. Are we talking about a guy here that maybe would have been draftable 6th or 7th round, along those lines? I went back and looked at a little bit of his cut up real quick and all, and maybe he is somebody we need to start paying attention to. Now, look, it's going to probably be if they only keep four edge, four outside linebackers, it's going to be tough for him to crack it. But, I mean, definitely when it comes to a practice squad spot, if they keep 2 outside linebackers, which are likely to do if they only keep 4 on the 53, I don't know. Maybe we're looking at a guy like him, and maybe a Quincy Roche does not make it or something. Maybe those 2 guys. It seems like those 2 were kind of the next in line after the Cassius Marsh.
Right. Yeah, I think 53 is still going to be tough for a guy like Jamir Jones, because I think they're only going to keep 9 linebackers, and I think they're going to keep 5 inside.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. If they keep 4, you're looking at a guy like Roche and Jamir Jones is probably your practice squad guys right now, right?
Yeah, that's where my head's at currently. Roche perked up a little bit today. He was on block backside of a power play to the right away from Roche, but a tackle for loss. I think on Balaj it was for a 3-4 yard loss. And so that was good to see some positive, something positive in my report about Quincy Roche. But Jamir Jones to me has been, and it's not just today, the other days I think he's looked good as well. I've noted that. So he's stringing together some good practices.
What would be what would be the single one thing you'd point out about Jamir Jones right now?
In terms of the positives?
Just what jumps out on him?
I mean, just making plays, just showing up. And again, the power he showed today was a big surprise. I mean, he put Terrapont and Najee Harris on their butt. And, I mean, it's just hard to do. And those guys know that they're going to bowl and they're going to have power. And, you know, maybe someone got off balance or didn't expect it or what. But you do that to those two guys, I think it's worth talking about.
I think the big thing going back, and if I remember right on his tape, is just not a huge array of pass moves with him. He's got the power. It's just I don't think he's refined as a pass rusher whatsoever, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't study his Notre Dame tape too much, so I'm just kind of clean slating it with him, but a good start.
All right, inside linebackers. Ulysses having another decent practice, right?
Yeah, another guy in my notes here. He was around the ball a lot. I'll have to see how many tackles he had or how many plays he was about in today, but a guy that in my notes quite a bit. So healthy. I need to see him more in some of the one-on-one coverage drills because I want to get a good feel for him in space. But, yeah, thought he had a good day.
All right, how's Buddy coming along?
I mean, he's been fine. He's been around the ball. I mean, I think he's kind of back to third team today with Devin Bush being in team. So, I mean, I haven't seen anything too terrible with him. But UG3, by the way, on that catch the Raider had really good coverage. Raider just made a really unbelievable play. But Buddy's been running, second, third string, depending on the lines in front of him. I haven't seen anything too terrible or too great with him.
All right, guys like, speaking about rest of the defensive line and defense, T.J. Carter, Calvin Taylor, those guys are just also Rams right now, right?
Yeah, Abdul Anderson, he works hard, takes a lot of reps before practice, after practice. Still see a little something with him. Calvin Taylor got blown off the ball really good by Joe Hague once. Taylor's got a really skinny lower half. He's so tall, he's so lanky, he's got really, really thin ankles, and he just kind of gets pushed around.
All right, defensive backs. You want to just kind of wrap all that up because we'll try to run this a little bit shorter tonight, I guess.
Yeah, James Pierre continues to create splash and big plays and capitalize on his chances like any good corner needs to do in today's NFL. So I think he's got to have a role. If he keeps playing like this, Dave, he's got to have a role somewhere in the Steelers defense. I mean, not even big nickel, but sub packet like dime. He's got to get on. You can't have this guy glued to the bench with the way he's playing right now.
Way back at earlier in the offseason, I kind of wondered if maybe this thing might play out with. Here's what, and it remains the thing that I'm rooting for, I think, the most, and that's Pierre to continue to make plays, be the outside corner, and to allow Sutton to play that role in the nickel sub package there. I really would like to see it play out that way. Now, obviously, you got a battle there between the other slot guys, between Antoine Brooks Jr. and Arthur Millette. But are either one of those guys sticking out the way Pierre is right now? I mean, it seems like Pierre's the one making the plays.
Mm-hmm. He is. Yeah, I think the other guys have been okay, but I think Pierre's making the splash plays. And so, again, how exactly it looks, I'm not quite sure yet. I don't think the team is either. But, again, if he keeps playing like this, you got to get him snaps on defense. Otherwise, I feel like you're wasting a guy that has some talent and a guy that deserves a longer look.
That guy is so innocent on his press conferences. He had a press conference Friday night, and you just hope that these guys can stay that way, especially the corners and the wide receivers, right? Because you start getting some success in them, and you can kind of see that, see them change sometimes there. Man, he's another one. We talked about Robert Spillane earlier today during the podcast here. Pierre's another one that's not assuming anything right now, and you just love that about him. He just got a go. Everybody, if you get a chance, listen to this. Make sure you go to Steelers.com and listen to that interview with James Pierre following the Friday night practice. And I mean, it just got that innocence to him where he's not assuming anything, and you just love that about the kid there. On top of him making plays there, so guy obviously you and I've been rooting for. Hey, we'll pat ourselves on the back. Late last season, we kind of saw this kind of coming with him. So hopefully he continues to make plays out there.
Yeah, hopefully. Justin Lane did give up a touchdown to McCoy. There was no safety help, so maybe I don't want to penalize him too harshly here. I don't know exactly what happened on the rep, but Pierre's making plays, Lane hasn't, and so that's that battle. And then you talk about can Pierre make an impact on the Steelers defense, putting Lane aside, and I think with the way he's playing, he's on track to see defensive time in some capacity this year.
Well, the question now, I mean, there's no question Pierre's on this 53. The question is Lane at this point, you know.
And the question is, how do you use Pierre and how much do you play him and those kinds of things? But he's making the team unless he just implodes or obviously gets hurt.
Right, and he's another guy that can play some special teams for you and excel in that area on top of that. Tell me about the rest of the young defensive backs on this roster.
We'll mention
Denmark, and what about DeMarcus Acey, a guy we haven't talked about? Missouri product, right?
Right. He had good coverage on a deep ball to Simmons today that was incomplete. That was about all I've seen from him. Lamont Wade with an interception and jumped it out by Tyler Simmons, and it was Dobbs that threw it, and Wade stepped in front and picked it off, kind of wrestled it away from Simmons. So nice job there from a local kid, Clariton, I think, Lamont Wade. And so his first pick of camp since I've been there, at least. And so that's always a good box to check.
He's more of a box product too, isn't he? A box player. In Lamont Wade, better built, better apt to play down low.
I think he's kind of played all over. He's been a slot guy. I mean, he's running with Donovan Steiner, and Steiner's kind of the strong safety type than Wade. But I think Wade's worn a lot of hats, and so I think he can kind of play all over. But I kind of classify him more as a slot corner, free safety kind of guy. But I also want to see more of him as well.
All right, Gilbert and Shakir Brown.
Gilbert with that bad run fit today that kind of allowed Mcfarland to run free for a 40-yard
gain.
He's
not known for his run defense.
Yeah, right.
His college tape.
And then Brown, he had a couple of blitzes off the edge, running nickel. Just haven't seen a whole lot from him so far.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add about defense? Any other notes that I missed? I do miss some things. So
for the specialists, had some field goals today. Boz went 6 of 7. Sam Sloman went 5 of 7. Those are going off what the refs did. I don't have the angle to look at it, so I'm just watching the refs. They all missed from 36. All 3 misses came from 36 yards. So don't kick 36 yards at Heinz Field. Apparently, you'll be A-okay.
How's the operation going?
I tried to look at the holds. There were some people in the way in terms of like coaches, so I couldn't tell. Barry's holding for Boz, Harvin's holding for Sloman, so that's kind of the starter, quote unquote, starter backup holding battle there. But nothing seemed too disastrous. But I think really it comes down to in stadium because it's so hard to judge a specialist when it's kind of an empty stadium, when it's a lower pressure environment. You want to get him in a stadium when things are really on the line and those reps count, and it's not Danny Smith standing holding your hand right next to you. So I think that's whenever you really kind of get the pressure on and see how those guys respond.
All right, and speaking of how they respond, Mike Tomlin talked tonight. Want to see how some of these guys on this quick turnaround from Friday night to Saturday afternoon practice to see how many people rise to the occasion and how many people shrink. So tomorrow will be an important practice to maybe kind of circle the guys who really stood out, if those same guys stood out Friday night. You know, I think it's a good, might be a good measuring stick on some of these younger players when it comes to Saturday's practice there. So, did you enjoy yourself tonight?
I did. Really good atmosphere, really good crowd. Traffic wasn't too bad on the way back, so that's always good. And yeah, we'll see if they're in pads tomorrow. I don't know if they'll be in pads or not because they have the off day, so they could be in pads. But it's been kind of a physical turnaround. Night practice, day practice after that. We'll see. Tomorrow should be interesting.
Getting a lot of people come up and saying hi to you.
Yeah, I had a couple people say hi. Johnny said hi yesterday. He came up from Arkansas. Made a 13-hour drive, I think.
Wow.
Johnny and his kids, so it was good to see him. He's been a long-time fan of Depot on Facebook and all that, so good to talk with him and see the family. Yeah, Steelers Nation's crazy, man. They're coming from all corners of the U.S.
All right, should be a pretty packed place out there Saturday, and they're doing the Ring of Honor announcement or what are they calling that?
The Hall of Honor?
Hall of Honor announcement is Saturday. I think tomorrow's Family Fest, so it's going to be a busy day around Heinz Field on Saturday there. So, Alex, I'll let you get after it so you can sleep fast, as we like to say, and you and I will check in again tomorrow to recap the Saturday practice tomorrow evening. Hopefully it'll be a little bit earlier than this one is tonight. Hopefully we wrap this up quick enough for everybody. Give another shout out to our buddy Lynn Testa and Touring Plans.
Yeah, thank you to Touring Plans, I should say, for being our sponsor. I'm tired. It's getting late here. Again, if you want to plan
it's a small skillet after all. You didn't get that, do you?
I got the Small World reference. I don't understand the skillet part.
Well,
What's
you said Touring Pan.
Pans. Okay.
So I went skillet.
You're quick on the draw, Dave.
Right,
you haven't lost a step here. But yeah, touringplans.com. You're planning a trip to Disney. Check out them. And again, our thanks to Len Testa for the hookup there. And tomorrow should be a really interesting practice. And if you are wondering about camp stats and the charting we do, I'll do that for Sunday hopefully. So I want to wait till an off day, get a couple practices in. So if you're wondering about all those camp numbers and stats, we'll have that over the weekend.
Nerd.
Yeah, Hunter. I mean, that is a nerd. I mean, there's no denying that.
All right, follow me on Twitter, please, at Steelers Depot. More importantly, follow Alex on Twitter, at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. And until Saturday night, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast and this special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2021 with Dave and Alex.